and we're going to talk a little bit about how we can accelerate topical product development, and certainly the synergy between chemistry and formulation will hopefully come through. So we've got Jean-Guy, who's on my right here. He's the guy with the French accent, and I'm sure you can guess I'm the British person. I'm Welsh, so forgive my accent. But certainly we work together very, very closely, and we've worked together for many years. So we're based in Sophia Antipolis, which is between Nice and Cannes on the French Riviera. And we're very fortunate to be here. We were part of the Galderma organization worldwide research center in the past, and that's evolved now into Nuvisan France. And here we have chemistry, formulation, we can manufacture clinical batches, we have analytical services and sciences, bioanalysis, regulatory and quality, and really we have a fantastic site, and we welcome you to come visit here whenever you can. So what's our value chain on the site? Well, we've got all of these groups that work together and this flow of this workflow. Today we're going to focus on chemistry and formulation. These are two parts of a value chain that's very integral to us on the site here, that works together very well. And we'll start here by putting together how we function as during the development process, going from product development into process development and scale up and tech transfer. You can see there at the top how we go through increasing drug product batch size and flow through each of the departments. But of course, all of this is underpinned by chemical development.
So yes, in chemical development, what we can do in this process at the really beginning of a project is to characterize and synthesize the API. It's really important for the formulation team to know on which kind of substrate you start with, the purity, the solid form, etc. And it is really what we can afford at the beginning of a project. Then we can also manufacture the batches for clinical studies. And all along the development, we can also act as a troubleshooting because you've got many impurities that could arrive during a stability study or during a formulation process, stuff like that, and we are there to support the formulation.
And we often call on the support of our wonderful chemical development colleagues. Yeah. So dermal formulation development, really it's something that we're extremely passionate about. We're focused with a rich tradition of API and product development, innovation, knowledge of skin diseases that helped us to develop topical products that possess ultimate tolerance, outstanding delivery characteristics and proven performance. And we're capable on the site here to develop any type of topical product that you might need. I think our DNA is about creating efficacious and best-in-class products here, and each of these elements constitute our approach to achieving that. We can work around assuring and balancing each of these variables to increase the possibility of success during POC and subsequent trials. And we've worked with NCEs, drug repositioning and lifecycle management, and taken those products to market. And I think together with chemical development, there's really a seamless exchange and transfer of information between our two groups, and the synergy that we get and how we can consolidate these projects early on during the life cycle of the project is very important, will help to gain efficiency for the rest of the program. So let's talk a little bit about the dermal formulation development process, and we'll use this as our roadmap through the presentation. So there's a lot of steps in here. We start with this early stage today. We're going to focus on these earlier stages, and we go all the way through then into the scale up with up to 50 kilo batch capacity on site here. Now, we're going to start with the drug substance, of course. We can't start without that. It's the foundation to everything, as you may have gathered already. And with that, I'll hand over to Jean-Guy.
Well, thank you very much, Gareth. In chemical development, we are here to manufacture the batches after the candidate selection. So that means after the discovery. We've got a molecule and we want to synthesize batches of several kilograms. So for that, we need to perform some steps like the route scouting, some development in process and research development of the synthesis, and the manufacture of the batches. We can manufacture up to 5 to 10 kilogram batches of the API. We are GMP compliant, And that's it. Usually we work with 3 different work packages. The first one is really process research. It's where we have to start from the medicinal chemistry synthetic route, and we have to improve it to have something that is robust and we can upscale to be sure we'll be able to manufacture kilogram batches of the compounds. Once we've got the chemical synthesis, we can start the process development, work package 2, which is more some safety assessment, some improvement in yields, and some characterization of all the intermediates. Then when we've got a robust process on kilogram scale, non-GMP, we can move forward to work package 3, which is really the manufacturing under GMP in our kilo lab, and we can manufacture the clinical batches.
So moving on, we've talked a little bit about the API and how it's made. We want to also look at the physical chemical properties of these compounds, and certainly having them adapted to dermatological treatment. These physical chemical properties that facilitate topical delivery, really molecular weight and log P are 2 of the key determinants. There's some optimum values that we look at for that. Polar surface area is important too, and generally Lipinski type rules apply. And so what we can do in terms of enhancing drug delivery, because the barrier, when it's fully functioning, the skin barrier is very efficient. We can increase the diffusivity in the skin, we can increase the solubility in the skin, and we can work towards maximizing the thermodynamic activity in the formula. And so the vehicle, we start talking about the vehicle now, and you can see on the right-hand side how degree of saturation works into that thermodynamic activity, and all these other variables come together, and we try and utilize all of these to help us individualize our delivery profile and our formulation development activities to the molecule in question.
Yes, and as we said at the beginning, API characterization is very important, and we will see it through all the slides in this presentation. But what we can start with is really to be sure to have something that the formulation guys can rely on. So at the really beginning, we can check the physico-chemical properties, evaluate the solubility, enhance the purity of a substrate if you can have this molecule on the commercial grade. Do also some polymorph screening at the really beginning. It's really important to know which kind of polymorph, if you've got a salt, if you've got an hydrate, stuff like that. We can also perform the quantitative NMR to be sure of the assay. And when you don't have any analytical method to work with, we can use quantitative NMR. We can check also oxidation potential, and to try to imagine some degradation pathway to help the guys in the formulation team.
And this is a step that should never really be shortcutted. By doing this correctly at the start of the program, we can then take the product in formulation with confidence and build an individualized formulation around the molecule that will have similar properties during the scale-up of the project.
So when we manufacture a compound, it is not just a powder. This is something that we analyze deeply, and we've got the NMR to be sure that we've got all the impurities that are in the that are checked into the compound. We can check also the HPLC, the high resolution mass spectroscopy, the XRPD, the log P, the pKa, DSE, sulfuric acid, Carl Fisher, and you've got a COR with plenty of information, and we are sure that the quality of the substance that we give to the formulation is correct, and they will work on something that is reliable.
So now we've I think emphasized the importance of the drug substance and having that well characterized. We want to talk a little bit about target product profile and formulation strategy. These elements work hand in hand. And so when we start with the strategy that we might have in mind, we want to look at as broad a formulation space as possible and look at a range of diverse prototypes, which will give us the best chance of success moving forward. And we can identify then the most promising excipients and formulation bases or platforms early on. We will obviously make sure that this is within the project scope and feasibility, and we try to balance innovation and pragmatism. It's important to innovate, but if we make something that's so complex it can't be scaled up, that doesn't work. So we need to balance that out. And of course, part of this process is to build this roadmap with the TPP or the quality TPP during this development process. There's some examples here. For the interest of time, we're not going to go into that, but it's really important to know where we're trying to get to so that we can build that efficient roadmap. Some potential concepts and elements that we like to consider. It's important to understand the indication and the limitations or the issues that we need to consider in terms of tolerability and barrier function. Potency is very important. The more potent the compound, the less we have to deliver, and that's very, very useful. Targeted dose comes into that, of course, the target site within the skin and the estimated delivery that we might want to target. The API, of course, has its own inherent stability. It has its particular form, perhaps. Solubility and compatibility profile is very, very key, and we'll touch on that in a moment. And of course, we can then consider whether we'll be able to go down a solubilized route or a dispersed route. The dosage form is obviously very critical, and that's driven by the indication requirements, the needs of the patients, and the API constraints. We can have a range of different dosage forms developed here, and we use Busse et al. To help classify those formulations. Some examples here that we've worked with in the past or that we're familiar with. For example, with BPO, it's an organic peroxide. It's pretty unstable. So we developed products in the past where the API was suspended in an aqueous mixture of low solubility, and then was able to have its activity on the surface of the skin thanks to that presentation. There's another product out there, Axome 5%, which was developed as a suspension and was made possible thanks to the registration of a new solvent at that time, trans-Q-tol, and that has an in-situ solubilization approach, which was very, very neat. And Aldara was made possible, the 5% formula, thanks to high solubility in